Okay, let's talk about can you establish a gray tone or black tone at the cut? Okay, so this question, let me kind of hit reset here. Let's talk about the properties of a style, so the edge settings within the style. All right, so if I hop over here to section AA, and let's just talk about what's going on here. We're not going to get hung up on fixing our section again, but so right now our section is showing up with a really heavy black line where my section cut hits, and we've got just black edges. That's kind of what we're up to here. So let's just say I think you can get a pretty cool look out of these sections if the section cut is like 90% gray, and then the edges are going to be like 80% gray. So let's see what that looks like, all right? Now for this, we're gonna go into our styles dialog. And in the styles browser, the styles dialog, this is the line drawing style. This comes with Condoc. It's this clean black and white CAD style output. So if I go to edit, you can see that on the modeling settings, we can choose a different color for our section cuts. All right, so if I click on that, I can set my section cut to be, let's see, HLS. We'll go to, I said 80, but I think what I meant was like just to knock it down by 10. All right, and I'll say okay. And it didn't make a huge difference, but I can tell that's just like a notch off of black. Let's make it a little bit more extreme. So we'll go to like, let's just say like 20 and say okay. Okay, so our section cuts, see how light they are there? All right, so we just want it to be like, let's see, we'll do 30. All right, we'll say okay. All right, so there's our section cuts. Now notice that when I change the properties of a style, I get this warning sign that like this style needs to be updated. All right, so if I want to save this change, I do need to click on this thumbnail, and that is now going to remember that like my section cuts are dark gray. Now let me go over to my edges. I'm not sure if, so now the edges, when I click on these guys, these I want to drop down even further. Let's go to like 50 and see what kind of a look that gives us. See how light gray those are now? All right, so we'll say an update. So I just click here to update. Go back to section AA. So now I get that kind of gray tone, all right? So I'm gonna save that. I'll hop back into layout, and all I have to do is right click on viewport. So I'll unlock my drawings for now. Right click and choose update model reference. When it spins, we're gonna see those kind of change to a little bit more of a gray tone. Perfect. All right, so you can see it's just kind of a different look. You know, you can make them different colors. If you wanted to do red section cuts, gray lines, that could be a cool look. I have a feeling though that like maybe what the question was getting at was like doing a hatch fill. So as far as hatch fills go, there is a cool plugin out there called Scalp. That one, it can do some of this stuff automatically, but I've found that I can also get the job done with just kind of filling in layout. So when you color the walls in layout, that is technically breaking the link, because if I were to update this wall section, everything that I do in layout is not necessarily going to follow along. So what I'm getting at is that like what I would do is maybe I would go to my rectangle tool, I would sample a fill over here, and then make sure that my shape style, I don't want a stroke on there. So now what I could do is just kind of fill in these walls, right? Like that. But just know that like if I were to change this wall section, if I were to actually move that wall around in SketchUp, the hatch that I'm applying in the layout is not necessarily going to chase those walls. I'm going to have to be aware that like I need to fix that hatch. There is another plugin called Section Cut Face. Let me look that one up. Let's see. go to section cut face. And I did not have a ton of luck with this. I really wanted it to work. There's no doubt about that. It's available at SketchUcation. I think this one's available at SketchUcation. Let me make sure. Yeah, SketchUcation, section cut face. So check those guys out too. SketchUcation.com is a great place for a ton of resources. Here it is, TIG's section cut face. What this does is it actually fills in the walls, but it seemed like it worked really well on very simple geometry. Let's see. I don't know if I have this one installed. If I have it installed, I'll give you a quick demo, see if I can make it work. Let me see here. So here's my wall section. Right click and I choose Add Section Cut Face. And we are going to color it black. Keep all edges, yes. Hide edges, yes. Lock. Auto update, we're going to leave, we'll say yes. And let's just say okay and see what happens. So what that does, it added a section cut face. Oh, you know what's happening here? Is that if I were to go back to my design tab and look at it, the issue there is that my style, the style is showing up as hidden line mode, so everything's white. So I can't have that hatch fill. But what we could do is switch to a colored section, and then we'll see that black kind of show in. So let's go back to section AA, and let's see if that style, if I go to select in model and look at our CAD with textures style. All right, so see, that's where that section cut, see the section cut face, it does in fact fill that in for you, and that section cut face plugin is claiming that it will auto update. This method is actually great for section cut face because you're using section planes and you're using that section cut face plugin on much simpler geometry. If you just like chop one section and say add section cut face, it's too hard to know like what is a solid, what is not, what should be colored in, what should not be. So at least this way, I can go in here and like let's add a section cut face for our ceilings. All right. So if I go to let's see, F6 is my visibility. So I actually don't have one in my ceilings. So let's add a section cut. All right, so I'll go in here. Let's add a section cut, and we want that on the red axis. It's going to be going through right there. Right click, add section cut face. Everything looks good to me. So now it's coloring in. And see, watch what happens. If I scoot this, if I move it, it should auto update. There it is. See? So it kind of auto updates for me. I'm going to hit Control Z. So that's kind of cool. Like that means that if I were to change the profile of that roof, it would hatch it in a little bit differently. So that's kind of a cool thing. But what it means though is that on section AA, I can't use that black and white CAD style output. So if I go back to section AA, I choose CAD with textures. Now we're getting our fill. I can right click and choose update. And then if I go back into layout, all right, let's go back into layout and right click and choose update model reference. And then we should see this all come in color. And we got to remember, let's see, SketchUp model, section A. Oh, let me make sure I save this. So save, and then we'll go back into layout, right click, choose update model reference. On section AA, it is set to hybrid, so it should, yeah, there it goes. Cool. So now if I were to change the profile of that, it'll show up all colored in. So let me just wrap that question up and just say that, yes, you can control the color of your line work. That happens in your styles dialog or your styles browser. You can, typically what I do is I like to have that black and white CAD style output. So usually I would just fill in my hatch manually because I think that it happens rather quickly. I save it to the end until I'm like buttoning up the drawings. And so it just depends. But then the last option is scalp is certainly worth checking out. But this section cut face, that does a very simple version of that functionality of adding hatch to a section, but just make sure that you use it in a very simple way. Don't add a section cut face to like chopping your whole model. It just tends to not work. So that was a great question. I had all those ready to demonstrate on the fly. How about that?